With the continuing changes in the economy and politics and interest rates, 2025 promises to bring some unique challenges for tradie and contracting business owners. Now tune into this episode where Cam Hill, our head of coaching, and I sit down to talk through the 4 areas you need to focus to make 2025 a profitable and successful year for your business.
When you've got guys standing around, it's stressful. You're trying to find things to do. You get your blinkers on, and your head's not in the game making the right decisions.
And I think when you're in that position, if you're not careful in 2025, you will start making bad decisions because you're just not thinking straight. You're just so stressed about the short term. The message here for 2025 is you have to get a little bit smart about your marketing.
And you deserve to be paid, and I think it's really important that you understand that that is your money. It's not the customer's money waiting to come into your bank account. It's your money. You've done the work. You deserve to be paid.
People have your money and they don't pay it to you. It's kind of theft. It does my head in, actually. So you got to pony up, put your big boy pants on and just go and get it.
He flew to the HQ and dealt with the development manager, and he got the money in the same day. $1.2 million.
Alrighty, welcome to the podcast. Tony Fraser-Jones here, your host, and I got something a bit special today. I've ditched one good mate for another. Phil's not here, but Cam Hill, our head of coaching, is our special guest in the chair. How you doing, buddy?
Good, man. You finally got the better-looking man in the seat, huh?
Certainly the more humble one anyway, and more modest. So Cam's our guest. He's the head of coaching here at Profitable Tradie, and he's a good man. He's a little bit ginger, but we won't... he has ginger hues, but we won't hold that against him.
Only in certain places.
That's right. Anyway, Cam's a rock star. He's got a team of 15 coaches who are helping our members, and his team are working with currently over 600 business owners. He's really got his finger on the pulse of what the current trends and challenges are, that are facing trading and contracting business owners through the end of this year, and what's going to be big in 2025. So today, what we're going to do is dig into what Cam sees are the 4 big challenges for 2025. And what you as a business owner really need to do to get on the front foot. So Cam, it's good to have you here. You sort of introduced yourself before, but...
Yeah, mate. Excited to be here.
That's good.
Pumped. Let's get into it.
Get into it, all right. So, man, maybe just kick off. Let's just outline what the 4 challenges are, and then we can dig into each one and figure out, what you need to do to put yourself in a good position for 2025. So what's number 1?
Yeah, definitely. Number 1 is it's all around workflow. So the thing you got to be really conscious of going into 2025 is clients are most likely going to take longer to push go on projects, and there's probably going to be more delays in projects happening as well. We're seeing that come into the year already. The second one is that clients are going to take longer to pay their invoices, and you got to be really aware of that, and cash flow will be a challenge if you're not on top of it. The third one is making profit on every job is going to be more of a challenge. People will press your profits harder. They'll penny pinch harder. And lastly, finding excellent tradesmen. It's going to be massively important, getting good tradesmen, good technicians into your team to be able to be really productive. Those are the 4 challenges that we've got to be aware of for 2025.
Yeah, definitely some meaty stuff there. And it's a slightly different environment to last year. There's still a lot of pressure in the economy. Things are a bit slower in many places, and that's putting pressure on some people. Obviously, the people who really got locked in are doing well, and I think that'll be the same this year. So that's really what we want to do. This is not about doom and gloom, because it's not really like that. You make your own luck, you make your own economy, and if you really hit on these 4 things, I think you'll make a great economy and have a great year. So let's dig into the first one, which is clients are taking longer to get their projects underway, potentially more delays, lack of consistent leads and all that sort of stuff. So maybe can you just talk us through how you see that problem actually affecting people in detail if they don't get on top of it, moving into 2025?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the things that will happen if you're not in control, you're not doing all of the right things, is there'll be delays in projects. And if you don't have lots of leads, lots of clients that you're working with, when one project gets delayed, patchy workflow, like nothing on the books, nothing to keep you guys busy. And it's the last thing you want. When you've got guys standing around, it's stressful, right? You're trying to find things to do. You get your blinkers on, and your head's not in the game making the right decisions. People are in this market taking a longer time to push go on projects. And if someone's thinking about building a new house, they might be thinking about potentially not doing it right now until the market gets a bit more hot, until interest rates are in the right place. And also people are making decisions around whether they do this garden, or they go to Vietnam and have a holiday, or they buy a new car. Last year or the year before, they could do multiple of these things, but now they can't. And so when this is happening, you need to be making sure that like you've got leads coming in, you got your sale process locked down, and it's working and it's effective, and you're getting strong conversion rates. Otherwise, you'll be standing around with your hands in your pockets looking for what to do. The real issue with this is when you don't have work to keep you guys busy, your head just goes, it spins, and you end up focusing on the wrong things. You end up not focusing on what to do, what the right activity is to generate these leads. Often you're not working on your sales process, you're not following up your quotes, and you end up just trying to focus on just getting whatever you can done currently to try and pull some money in, to try and keep some revenue happening in the business, and it compounds the problem.
Yeah, it's super stressful, isn't it? I mean, it basically it turns you into a pretty frustrated, anxious, overwhelmed person, and I think when you're in that position, if you're not careful in 2025, you will start making bad decisions because you're just not thinking straight. You're just so stressed about the short term that it's really difficult to think straight.
It really pushes into all areas of life too.
Yeah.
You know, it comes across at home with the wife and kids. It comes across with your team. Turns you into a different human, right? And when you don't have cash because you're not got work on the books, it's the only thing you can really think about. You're up at 3 a.m.
Yeah,
not really operating as a full person.
Yeah, 100%. So, and I guess what's happening is people having to think about marketing and all that sort of stuff, where often that's not something that they're really used to doing. Particularly, I mean, it's definitely been more of an issue in the last year or 18 months. But before that, there's a long period of time where work just seemed to come in.
You got to be really conscious of the desperation that can sneak into when you're like that. There's a certain smell that goes with desperation, right? It's an ugly one.
Smell it a mile away. Yeah.
You really can.
Yeah.
Work's just not like that at the moment. And like you said earlier, you can control your own economy. You can make your own economy. You just have to do the right activity to make sure that you can make that happen. And there's a lot of people winning out there. There really is. You just need to decide that you're going to be one of them and get proactively onto this.
Well, I think that's a really important point here, because if you're listening and you're worried about what's happening coming up in 2025, I don't think you need to. Well, you probably should worry if you're not going to be proactive and take account of what we're talking about here, because it's definitely enough for the people who are doing it well and being proactive and getting on the front foot to do well. It's always the weak who die first, and so the point is you don't want to be one of the weak, as it were, the ones who are just letting life and business happen.
Yeah, it's about being aware of the problem, so that you can do something about it.
Yeah, for sure. So what are some of the fixes then that you think will make 2025 great in terms of making sure that you've got good workflow?
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that you can do to nail this. Look, the first thing that you really need to do is you need to be really clear on who you're targeting. What sort of clients do you want to work for? Who do you want calling you, emailing you, getting you to do their jobs? So that's the first thing. The second thing that goes with that and is just as important is knowing exactly what their problems are. You need to know what their pain points are, what their frustrations are, what's going on for them. So if you're talking to builders, for example, or architects, and they currently deal with another contractor of your trade, look, it's massively important that you know what would piss them off about their current guy. You need to dial into that. You need to know that so we can make sure that we talk to those points. So knowing your niche or your niche and making sure you target them with the right messaging is massively important. You've got to be fast. Being fast is so important right now. Like I said before, people are deciding whether they want to get their project done, or they want to go travel, or they want to buy a car. They're not deciding to do all three of them, and it's not just about deciding who am I going to get to do this project. It's about actually deciding whether they're going to do that project. So you being able to talk to them, build the value, and then get the price to them is massively important. I have a quick story to share about that. If
you like a good story,
I love a good story. I just want to talk about this guy Nick. He sells bathrooms. He was trying to sell these new bathrooms for the previous 6 months. He sold nothing for 6 months. 0 bathrooms. People were deciding all these other things, giving excuses, not closing the deal. And what we figured out was that he was actually taking 2 weeks after his site visit to put his price together and get it to the prospect. And by that time, they've decided to do something else. And so all we did, one minor change, was got his speed to pricing up so that he'd go and do the site visit, he'd get his quote out within 2 days, and then he'd call them straight after that and make sure that they'd received it and followed up on it straight away. 1, make sure they got it, and 2, see if there's any objections to it or if they could just pull trigger on it straight away. 12 bathrooms, 6 weeks.
Mental, right?
Crazy. And so that speed to pricing is just massive. Don't muck around.
Yeah, and it's also, if people are looking around, it's one deciding to do it, but if they are looking for a couple of contractors, you can often have the price to them and have the job booked in before everyone else has even called them back.
Exactly.
And that's how you beat the competition. And in a more competitive market, it's absolutely critical.
Yeah, huge leverage. Being clear on your market also helps with like where you market as well, knowing where they hang out, knowing where they're going to look for your services. So be in the right place. For example, a builder's not going on Google looking for electrical contractors. If you're going to target a builder, like meet them where they're at. Send something to them and call them. You've got to market to where they are. The thing with builders a lot of the time, if you're trying to contact a builder, is they're quite complacent. Like, people are complacent creatures. We deal with what we've got a lot of the time. And so if they've got a current plumber that works for them, the plumber might show up late 4 times out of 5. They might not clean up on site, but the builder just knows that plumber, and so they know what to expect, and they're just like, oh, Jim, he never shows up, so we'll just call him 3 times, and then he'll definitely show up. I know that about Jim. But that's actually not that great of an experience. And so if you're going to do that, market to them where they're at. If somebody has a smelly drain, most of the time they're going to go to Google. So why go anywhere else? Go to Google. Sometimes you need to, if people are thinking about like a landscaping project and they want a new garden, but it's not something that's really pressing. Socials are pretty good for that, but like, learn about it and do it in the right way. There's a lot of good ways that you can reach out to these guys, get in front of them, make them think about it, build the future that they have.
So it's actually, I guess the message here for 2025 is you have to get a little bit smart about your marketing.
Yeah.
You just can't hit and hope. You can't just put some stuff out there. You've got to be really clear on who you want to target, what's important to them, and how you're going to get that message in front of them where they're at, and where they're at, in a situation where they can actually buy.
Yeah, massively. Probably the last thing is sales is so important. I talked about speed to pricing before, but having a sales process, 1, and then looking at your conversion rates on your sales process, number 2, are so huge. A lot of people think that sales is just going and having an interesting chat, shaking hands, getting to know each other, talking a bit of smack. That's not sales. You need to have a script, a process. You need to have timelines on when you do your follow-ups. You need to make sure that you're qualifying these guys, whether they're the right fit for your business. Sales is massive, and so you can't let that slip. You can't think that you're just having a chat and selling. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I think, again, the message here is 2025 is there's a bit more going on. You've got to fight a bit harder, so you've got to be better.
Yeah.
And sales is a critical area where, rather than just thinking people will say yes, and it's nothing to do with what you do, they'll just say yes or no based on where they're at, which is honestly how most people do sales. They try and make people like them and then think, well, okay, if they're going to say yes and they like me, it'll be me. But it's not like that. You've actually got to help them make the decision, and that's what the sales process is actually about. And it's so powerful. You can win so much work relative to competitors when you get that right. So I think it's definitely for 2025, that's a big area of focus.
Good thing about sales too is if you increase your conversion rates, it doesn't cost you any more money.
Yeah, well, you've already done the marketing, you've already done the pricing, you've already had to go out in the field to visit the jobs and all that sort of stuff. So yeah. What about one other thing that I know that you've been talking a lot with the members about is actually selling more to your existing clients?
Yeah, massively. Like you all have a database. Everybody has a database of clients that you work with already. Lots of these guys, they know you. They're happy with your services. And so your database is often a free way to tap into for lead generation to come back and potentially work for again. And also upselling to your existing clients on existing jobs that are happening as well. When you go out to a job, there's often more than one thing that needs to be done. And, doing an inspection checklist, having your tradesmen on site, actually checking the rest of the house and offering that as a value option to the clients. Most of the time, 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, hell yeah, like absolutely, please do that. And then when you just offer some extra services at the end that might need to be done, the answer is often yes. So you can really easily build the average revenue up per job that you do. And you can tap back into your database by emailing them with an offer, really directly with intention behind it to generate some leads back in to tap into them, and it doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah. So definitely 2025, we've got to get really clear, proactive with our marketing, to fill in those gaps in workflow.
Yeah, and there's lots to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Okay, so number 2.
All right, number 2 is just around clients taking longer to pay and cash flow being eaten if you're not on top of that. So yeah, look, one of the things in 2025 that you're going to have to be really on top of is clients will make excuses about why they can't pay. There'll be some avoidance in them actually engaging in contact with you. So not answering the phone, not replying to emails, not wanting to accept progress claims on claims that you send out to your clients. Big companies aren't sticking to your terms of trade. So you engage with a bigger company, and they might have their payable terms at 90 days, and you've given them your receivables terms, your terms of trade and payment terms of 14 days or the 20th of the following, and then they just don't pay it because we just don't pay in those terms. We pay it 90 days or whatever. And look, if you don't do anything about that, cash flow will suffer. Like, cash is king in business. And if you don't have cash, your risk is you don't have your suppliers in check. You can't pay your expenses. You can't pay your boys every week. You guys out on the tools.
Can't pay taxes.
Can't pay taxes. And honestly, when cash flow is suffering, things like taxes tend to be the last thing on your mind. And then it hits you with the bill, and it's a huge shock.
Yeah, you thought, I had enough money, and then I've got this
gigantic
$28,000 bill. I'm like, where do I find that money?
Yeah. Look, cash not being in the business is such a big risk.
Yeah. There's a lot going on here too, because we're in a cycle of the economy where it is a little bit slower than it was 2 or 3 years ago, and the money goes around more slowly, and people are spending a bit less, and so that means the clients sometimes they're struggling for money, or they're having some issues at work or whatever. If they're residential clients, or they're worried about their own bank balance, or they've got large debts that they're trying to pay or whatever. So it's about making sure you get the slice of the money that's coming to you, because sometimes they'll make you wait while they try and organise the money for everyone else as well.
Yeah.
So you've got to be Johnny on the spot.
You do, and you've got to be really strong. There's a lot to do here, and a lot of these actions are really simple, but you've got to do them. Otherwise, we were talking before about these things keeping you up at night. Like, most business owners have struggled with cash at some point in time, and so most people are able to relate to the up at 3 a.m. thinking, I really hope this guy pays me today, otherwise I'm not going to be able to get my guy's wages paid, and that's seriously stressful.
Well, it is, and there's a lot to this too, because if you don't have enough money in your bank account, you actually do feel like a failure as a person, as a business owner and as a person, and it often leads to you're not talking about it. Maybe you don't tell your wife or your significant other about where things are actually at, because you're ashamed and embarrassed of where they're at, and it really does mess your head up. So you've got to look out for this in 2025, and we definitely don't want you to be in that situation. You don't have to be as well. And what are the things you're finding that need to be done this year to make sure that you are on top of this?
Yeah, look, the first thing is you gotta pluck some courage and call those people who aren't paying you. Like, you must do that. You absolutely must do that, or somebody must do that in your business. So the first step is you need a process to continuously manage this. If you're sending invoices, you want to be calling them the day before and make sure that they know that the invoice is coming, and you can check the quality of the job, and it's a customer service call. It's actually a really good value building call that shows the client or the customer that you care. And then if they don't pay on the date, in your process, that you should have the next day, the person gets called. Not an email, not an automatic accounting software reminder like your Xero or your QuickBooks. It needs to be a phone call. And if they don't answer, you send an email, you send a text message. Like, make sure you're relentless about this, because it's your money. You've done the job, and you deserve to be paid. And I think it's really important that you understand that is your money. It's not the customer's money waiting to come into your bank account. It's your money. You've done the work. You deserve to be paid. And so you need a process that goes from that initial customer service call before the invoice goes out all the way through to, follow-up calls. And if you decide to have in your process, which I would highly recommend, have a letter that goes out that tells them you're going to send that debt to a debt collector, and then actually send that debt to a debt collector, or get a lawyer to write a letter to them and follow an actual legal process. But decide on your process and then commit to your process, And that's the second real key point. Like, you have to commit to the things that you say that you do. Your credibility comes with action. And so make your process and do what you say that you'll do. Send them to a debt collector. They'll treat it seriously if you treat it seriously. And the thing to remember is that, like you were talking about before, money's a bit slower, but the squeaky wheel gets the oil all the time. So you've got to be the one that's squeaking, right? Otherwise, somebody else will, and you'll be at the bottom of the rung, and you won't get paid.
Yeah, and so I think that's critically important for your business-to-business clients, and for your business-to-consumer, your residential clients and your homeowners and that sort of thing. It's a similar process, except you just want to make sure you get paid on completion.
Get paid on the spot.
Where
you can, take an FPOS or a card machine and get paid on the spot. The thing to realize about any consumer customers is they want to pay you. There's like this burning hole in their pocket, like ready to go. They just want to get the cash out because then they know that they've paid and they can move on with their life. Whenever I have anyone do any sort of work for me, all I want to do is get that bill paid so I can focus on the next thing that I need to do in life. And I think most people are like that. And so it's just important that you enable that. Allow them to pay fast. And if you don't have the facility to do that, invoice same day. Like speed to invoice.
Well, I would say if you don't have the facility to do that, you need to go and get it.
Go get it, yeah.
That's important.
It's easy to get to.
It is. And then, obviously some homeowners, you might be doing larger jobs where it may not be all pay on completion, but you 100% must get good deposits.
Yeah.
Because that's the best BS detector.
Oh, absolutely.
Because people will potentially string you out otherwise, or they'll just spend your money on someone else, and then it's difficult to get.
The other thing to do is, especially like whether it's a consumer or a business, you must do your progress claims as well. If you've got long jobs that are over a few months, minimum claim monthly. You can claim fortnightly as well. But do your progress claims, set the expectation, send them on time, send them with profit, never send them at cost. You can't just claim the profit at the end. You must claim your margin the entire way through the job, and then have the same payment terms on your progress claims as you would on your invoice. Tighten them up as much as possible, right? And don't bend over for big companies. Like, you don't have to accept these 90-day, hugely long payment terms, because then you're living in this wide cash gap that you need a lot of money in your business to survive, and a lot of profit in jobs to survive as well, more than what you might be able to close deals on. So, shorten that up.
Yeah, 100%. Get the money, it's owed to you, and I think that's definitely a challenge, in 2025, and if you stay on top of that, it'll make life so much easier. You'll have the cash in your bank account. You'll feel positive about where you're at. You'll be able to make good decisions, and you'll probably see your friend or your mate down the road struggling because he hasn't done it.
Look, I can promise one thing. If you make these calls and you don't be a pussy about it, honestly, you'll reduce your accounts receivable balance. Yeah. You really will. I see this time and time again. People coming into the program sometimes come in with hundreds of thousands of dollars, like hundreds of thousands of dollars. A new client the other day, he recently joined. He had $1.2 million of debt outstanding. And it was with a big company, and he just had no idea how to approach them. He didn't have any confidence to approach them, and just position himself well to actually have the authority to ask for the money. And he was calling, but he was getting the muck around. He was talking to an accounts person, and the accounts person was saying, "Oh, we don't have the PO yet, so we can't pay you yet. We'll try and follow up," and nothing was happening. This is a big amount of money. He's in Texas, and he flew to the HQ and dealt with the development manager, and he got the money in same day. $1.2 million. You can't let them drag the chain. It doesn't matter who it is. Yeah. And you don't have to roll over for the big guys. You really don't.
Well, and this year it's realizing, in 2025 that if people have your money and they don't pay it to you, it's kind of theft. It does my head in, actually. So you got to pony up, put your big boy pants on, and just go and get it.
Oh, the thing that grinds my gears the most is when people owe a client or anybody money, and they continue to do the job. Put your tools down. Stop doing it if they're not paying you. Why would you continue to work for them if they're not going to pay you for the work that you've done?
Well, and that takes us back to point number one we were talking about. That's why this year you've got to have good, robust marketing so that you can basically cut off the people who are not playing ball with paying the bills. So number 3 for 2025.
Yeah, look, so making gross profit on jobs, it will be harder. People will be penny pinching. So it's really important that you focus on making profit on every job. and really understand how to price your work well, and understand your financials behind the jobs, behind your business as well. So with that being said, with people penny pinching, with more people focusing on prices and shopping around a little bit more, and costs going up as well, you have to know what your margins are. So you have to know how much money you're getting per job, what your gross profit in dollars is, what your margins are, so as a percentage of your sale value, and also what your gross profit in dollars per hour is. Like you really have to know this. The scary thing is if you don't, if you're flying blind, not knowing your numbers, you'll see it pop up in the bank account, but it's often it's way too late to deal with. You have to know your margins when you price your jobs. You have to know your margins as you go throughout the jobs if you're on bigger projects when the job's complete. And you have to know how all of this relates back to your profit and loss statement. Like you really have to be on top of this. Otherwise, it just turns into a massive cash flow stress because you'll see it in the bank account, but it's often quite far afterwards.
Yeah.
And so you can it's same problems that exist like we were talking about before with not managing your cash flow. But it'll just show up in the jobs.
This is the thing. The cash flow pressure can come in a few ways. It can come, as we talked about, with people not paying you, and that's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
But the one, and this is always the case where people have chronic cash flow issues, is they are literally doing work without making enough profit on each job. And that means that they don't have enough money to pay for their fixed costs and to leave profit at the end of the day. And a poor bank account means that your jobs there's just not enough fat in them.
Yeah.
And that's going to be massive this year because there is a little bit less money going around, as you said, and so people are a little bit more focused on what they're paying compared to perhaps what they have been in the last few years. So what's the solves here, Cam?
Yeah, look, the first thing you have to do is you must back cost your jobs. And I don't mean back cost one or two every now and then. I mean you must back cost all of your jobs. And what I mean by that is once you complete a job, you need to go back and check its profitability against what you priced it for. So if you expected to make on a job, for example, 38% gross profit margin, did you make 38% gross profit margin? Did it actually hit target? So one, did you know where you priced that as a margin in the first place? And two, did your team go and execute that job to target so that it still made the money that you wanted it to make? That's really important. So you put all of your costs for your labor and all of your costs for your materials and any subcontractors that you use into the job. And if you back cost properly, it'll spit out how much money you made as a gross profit in dollars, and it'll spit out that gross profit as a percentage of the revenue that you made on the job. You must do that every single time. Now, when you do it for every job, what you can do is go and look at how all of your jobs compare to each other. You can start to trend some of these results. And when you're trending the results, you're getting a consistent pattern of what's happening in your business. You might find patterns where you're pricing your jobs and then every single job the guys blow out. And if you weren't doing that, you'd have no idea. And it would take a long time to figure that out. You'd find out by not having enough money. But when you do this on every single job, you can then go and do something about it. Maybe you're underpricing. Maybe the guys don't have enough, like systems. They don't have enough accountability to do their job well. Maybe they don't know how to do the job properly, and you just expect that they.
Yeah, maybe the client you're working with is really unorganized, and they're just giving you the runaround, and there's lots of trips to out to the field every time you've got to do the job.
Exactly.
Which is costing you money, which is not priced in.
Yeah.
But all that stuff becomes obvious when you actually analyze it.
It does.
But it's not obvious when you don't.
Not at all.
So you've got to do that this year because this is so flippin' important.
Yeah.
And it's the key to making good profit, isn't it?
It is the number one key to making good profit. Like it really is. That's where all of your control sits. It sits in job profitability. You got to get that right. There's lots of other things that you can do as well. So when you're doing this, look, it's going to tell you a lot of things. It's going to give you direction to go and look. Like, are your job cards being completed on site by the guys? Are they loading in your materials properly? Are they actually doing the job to the standard that you want, or are you ending up going back and refixing things? Like, you'll kind of know some of this stuff without looking, but when you start to look properly, when you're looking at your margins consistently, it tells you a way better story, and you'll go and focus on the right thing. Often something will annoy you in business as a manager of people, and you'll go and focus on that thing just because it's frustrating. But looking at the data will tell you where to go and focus your energy. If you do that right, you'll get good margins.
Yeah, you'll crush it this year if you're across this.
The other thing to go and look at is not just the dollars and the margin as a percentage, but look at profit per hour. So one thing that's really helpful, especially if you're doing a range of different types of jobs, you might have one part of your business that's more service based and one part of your business that's more construction or building based. And looking at your profit per hour, so how much gross profit in dollars you're generating per labor hour, is massively important to look at, because margin's a good tool, but the amount of money that you're earning back as a return on investment for your team's time is the true metric. It's the apples versus apples comparison. So if you're not doing that, do that, because that'll help you with what type of work to focus on too. You might have one type of work that seems like it's profitable, but it's actually not that profitable compared to something else. And if you can win more of that type of work that's more profitable, you'll do better. So this gives you so much guidance as to where to cut jobs, where to reprice jobs, where to focus on your team efficiencies. If you do all of that right, you'll get better margins.
Yeah, and a classic example there, and is something to really look out for in 2025, is you might think your service work is the best because you get the highest margins, and you potentially can charge a little bit more per hour.
Yeah.
But when you do a profit per hour calculation, you might figure out that there's some industrial work you do, or even some home building that you do, because you can sell more materials, and so you can sell the materials, but it's still the same hour of labor. You might find the profit per hour is actually higher when you were thinking that the actual service work was a better margin. Now, sometimes it is. You have to do the numbers in your business, but when you really look at those things, then you can double down this year, particularly where profitability is so important, and really focus and put your marketing effort into those areas where that profit per hour is the highest. And honestly, most people won't know this, and they'll get a hell of a surprise when they actually do it.
Yeah.
It's like light bulbs, isn't it?
Oh, it's massive. Time and time again, I see it. There's just a wow moment.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's so enlightening. But once you start doing it and you have some of these moments, the cool thing is with it is you'll start to enjoy it more too, because you get more of the information that can help you make more money. So that's what you need to do to protect your margins.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. And so fourth thing for 2025, what is it, Chief?
Yeah, finding quality techs and tradespeople. It's so important to have the right people in your team, and having a really good hiring process, and getting good talent into your business is so pivotal for 2025 to make sure that you kick your goals. So one of the problems is good trades people that are trained, efficient, hardworking. They're not everywhere. They are a bit scarce. And if you don't have a good process for this, and you get busy, if you have the wrong people on board, it can stuff up your profitability. It can stuff up your mental energy. Having the wrong people in your team, people that erode culture, people that blow out on jobs, they eat you alive. They really do. They frustrate other people in your team. They can stop you generating, obviously, the money that you want in your business because they're not efficient enough. They can really be toxic.
Yeah, and why it's so important this year is because you will potentially be facing some headwinds.
Yeah.
And that's fine. If you're proactive, you can be on top of it, but you want to make sure your factory, your production, which is your team, is exceptionally good.
As effective as possible.
Effective as possible, because there's no doubt that someone who's exceptional they're kind of worth two of an average person. But you don't have to pay them twice as much.
Exactly.
You should probably pay them more. That's another whole question, because they kind of deserve it. But as we go into 2025, getting the right people will just make all this other stuff so much easier, because then you can focus on what you need to, which is like being at the front of the business, driving the revenue, staying on top of the cash flow, really looking at the pricing, and you can leave the actual production to people who you know are doing a great job.
We should pay you more, Tony. You're an A player.
It's a fair comment, actually.
Yeah, we'll look at that later.
Give myself a pay rise.
I'll check it if we have time.
Right, thanks, mate. I appreciate that. You're much more generous than that other guy I chat with. But anyway,
I'm trying to earn the seat.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I like a bit of competition.
Nice. I'll play harder.
That's right. So what are the fixes here, Chief?
Yeah, look, the first thing is you need a hiring process. You can't go into this and just wing it. You need steps. You need processes for each part of it. So, look, as a good hiring process has a really good job ad. So you've got to treat the ads seriously. A lot of the job ads that you see up on any sort of hiring platform, any talent platform, are pretty generic. They make it all about the company, not about the person. And so you need to make sure that you nail the job ad. It needs to be about them. It needs to show them like why they would come and work for you. You need to sell your business through your job ad as a great place to work where you can build their future. People don't just want to work to just come and show up and then leave. They want to work to build their career.
Well, you don't want to employ the people who just want to show up and leave.
Exactly.
That's the point.
There is a few of them out there.
There are a few.
But if you want those effective people, you need to attract those effective people by having a really good job ad.
Yeah,
So think about this like marketing for jobs. You need to have the same sort of thought process. Is this needs intention, it needs focus, it needs work. Get it right. If you do a good job there, you have lots of people applying. There'll be bad eggs in there as well, but there'll be some good eggs in there as well if you do a good job with the job ad. After that, it's rigorous qualification. So you need to phone interview these people. That's an easy test to be able to see whether they're potentially good or if they're not. Based on you looking at the CV and screening that, there'll be a few people that you want to call them, have a process, and just weed out anyone who you think would be a dud straight away. And then what you want to do is you want to get them in for a face-to-face. So anyone who qualifies past that phone interview, you want to make sure that you interview them. And when I say interview, I don't mean convince them to come and work there if they seem good. I mean
grill them.
I mean grill them. Look, it's behavioral. You use history to ask questions. If you have really good intention behind your questions and know what a good answer is that you're looking for, you'll be way more clear of whether they're going to come in and they're going to do a good job, they're going to contribute and be additive to the good culture that you have if you have a good culture, or help you create a good culture. And they'll work hard, be effective, be productive on those jobs, and make sure that they don't blow out. They come in under target and you make money. So you want to do that, and you seriously don't want to convince them. I remember a couple of weeks ago I was talking to one of our newer clients, Ryan, and he was telling me that he was getting referrals from his team for other people that they wanted to come and work in the business. So that's like the best case scenario. You've got team members in your team referring their mates or people that they know to come and work in your business, right? And he had 4 of them flop. They came in, they had the interview, and they went back to their old employer and just asked them for a pay rise and just stayed there and rang him up and was like, sorry, Ryan, I'm not going to go ahead. I'm going to stay in my current job. He offered me more money. And I was just trying to dig into this, and it turned out that he wasn't really interviewing them properly. He'd ask a couple of questions. I go, yeah, this guy's the man. So I'm just going to convince him to work here now. And he started talking about how they'd rent this yacht and go and have cool Christmas parties and do all this fun stuff. And it didn't put them through their paces. They actually didn't feel like they'd earned the position at the end of that. And there's a lot of power. And when you get somebody to go through a big process and then you offer them the position, that they feel like they've actually earned their stripes and they've got a place here because they deserve it. If you skip that step, there's a lot of positioning missed that can just like really muck that up. And then they want to take you for a ride as much as possible, or their current boss. And so that was happening to him. And all he did, small tweak, was he just got clear on his questions that he was going to ask, and he grilled them, and the next person that he interviewed was just as good, and he hired them.
Yeah, you got to be the prize.
You do have to be the prize.
It's kind of like the pretty girl at school who's untouchable. Everyone wants to go out with her, but
a lot of people want to work here, Tones. You must be the pretty girl at school.
We're like the pretty girl at school.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure I'm pretty, but
you're a good-looking man.
Well, we're going slightly off topic here. You're a good judge of character.
Good judge of looks too.
Yeah. Probably, maybe not of a hairdo, but anyway. Moving on. But yeah, the pretty good. Yeah, you want to. You do. You're looking good, brother. You do want to be the pretty girl who's kind of untouchable. Yeah. And you position your business like that. So this year, it's really important that you position your business and you're strong about the process you have when you hire people. And I think something else that you can do this year as well, which is important, is actually spend some time on your brand in the marketplace. Not so much for hiring, for getting jobs, but for actually hiring. And so that's attending to your socials. I think we've done some pods on this recently. Creating yourself as an employer of choice. That's a great way to position, because then people they're kind of a bit curious and a little bit excited about the prospect of working for you just by seeing the vibe you have in the marketplace.
Yeah, and the reality is, if they see a job ad, anyone in 2025 is going to go to your website, going to go to your Facebook or your Instagram. They're going to check that out. They want to know about you anyway, and you do cool stuff. Start with the easy wins of just documenting the cool stuff that you do. If you do a team outing, take some photos, put it up there. If you have a bunch of guys in your team that have a nice smiling face, take some photos, put it up there somewhere.
Put the cool
celebrate
jobs
them.
you've done up there, the charity work you do,
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff is massively important.
Yeah, you don't have to start by doing a whole bunch of new stuff. Just document the stuff that you do and get it up there. Yeah, massive. But there's one more part of the process that I think is unskippable. See if they can walk the walk in terms of earning that position. So do an on-the-job interview. There's different positions that you have in your team with your tradespeople, your on-site technicians. Get them to come to site for a couple of hours and make it a part of your recruitment process that you get them to do a job test. Think about what could prove that they have the skills that they said they have in the face-to-face interview, and put them to their paces.
Yeah, and if you have some of your other team work with them, you'll pick up so much.
Oh yeah.
Like, some of these guys are not smart. They'll say the stupid things they did on the weekend to these other guys, thinking it's kind of cool when they're trying to fit in, and the guys will tell you, they're smoking weed or whatever, and you pick that stuff up and you're like, how could they be so dumb?
Yeah.
But some people are. Did I say that? I'm sorry, but they are, aren't they?
Oh yeah, you got to be aware of them.
You do.
Doing the right thing. Like if you follow the process, have a process. Run your process, you'll pick it up.
Yeah, I mean, we have an 11-step process that we teach our members, and I think this year, in 2025, it's just so critical that you stick to that, because that gives you the best chance of getting the good people who are going to help insulate your business from some of the little bit of headwinds that we could potentially be facing.
Massive.
Man.
This was fun, eh?
We've done it. We've covered all 4 things. So be proactive with your marketing, be on the front foot with your cash flow, profitability is everything. So know your numbers, dig into them, and then get good people. Focus on getting good people to make all of those other things much easier.
If you do all 4 of those things, you'll have a killer year.
100%. It's guaranteed. Guaranteed. Yeah.
Nice one, Toast.
Mate, you've done well. Appreciate your time. Keep up the good work.
Thanks for having me on.
Mate, you're doing good work. You're changing people's lives. I mean that.
I love that so much, honestly. Such
fun.
a rewarding thing to do.
Happy days. Let's crush it.
Awesome, brother.
Ciao.
Cheers.
Catch you all again next time.